What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of The Lore Games. I'm your host, Todd Wanish, 26-year veteran of the comic and animation field, and your host for the evening through the Adult Fantasy Lore Game session. If this is your first time joining us, you might be asking, like, what the hell am I doing here? Why is this guy wearing a hat that says Adult Fantasy? Is this porn? No, it is not, although it could be. We have some people here tonight who might make it so. However, no. What Adult Fantasy is it is a decentralized character franchise-based universe. We are reinventing the Marvel universe in our own way using Web3 and blockchain technology, kicking ass, taking names. And in fact, we actually have a special drop tonight. We are minting an Ashcan edition. It's the very first time an Ashcan has been on the blockchain. It is live now. It has been available for those on the allow list, for those who were partners of ours, or for holders of Generation 1, Adult Fantasy Gen 1. But tonight it opens to the public. So we're going to give you more information on that later tonight. Tonight after Lore Games, it will go live for the public for free. It is a free mint. You don't have to pay anything except a little bit of gas. We'll talk more about that as the night goes on. In the meantime, what is the Lore Game? Well, the Lore Game is our decentralized writer's room. See, back in the day, inside of comics, there was something called the bullpen. And the bullpen was basically a whole bunch of artists and creative people working together to create really awesome, amazing content, comics and magazines and scripts and all this kind of stuff. And so as we move forward and we're building this next generation of the Marvel universe, we needed those same kind of tools. And so what we've done is we've taken the idea of a writer's room and we've created a little bit of a game to it, kind of like a RPG, a little world building RPG. And we basically brainstormed together through a set of basic rules how to create a story. And I will walk you through that as we go on. But that's basically it in a nutshell. We're here to create stories, have fun, and you in the audience, you in chat are invited. You are just as much a part of this as we are on screen. We love your ideas. We want you to throw shit out there. There is no such thing as a stupid idea. You are always more than welcome. Also, if you are an adult, I believe tonight we have posted the actual Lore Game info inside a Discord. So if you are an adult, there will be, I'm sure Dusty will be around and he can guide you, because I don't really remember where we put it. But there's a channel now inside the Discord where you can access exactly what we're seeing here inside of a like a table, right inside of Notion, the Notion app. So with that said, I'm going to do some intros and we will jump in. So first, I will start. I always never get this right. This way, I'll start with this guy right here. Zach Arbella, who is he? Well, he has written 13 novels in the fantasy space. He's amazing. He's prolific. He's also writing the adult fantasy novel, the very first one. And he's also phenomenal when it comes to storytelling, as you can imagine, writing 13 novels. But anyway, Zach, how you doing, brother? How you doing?
Nice. I am nice and smooth. Thank you for asking.
Nice and smooth. Okay, we're already getting into body waxing, and the night is still young. That's pretty awesome.
No, I'm actually working my way through a nice tumbler of Southern comfort, and it's just starting to kick in.
Perfect. That is all wonderful. That is the way it should be. All right, and next to Zach, we have someone who you guys know because he's been here for a while now. Studio 7.62, also known as Avery Butterworth. Avery is an illustrator. He's been in comics for a long time. He's worked with Heavy Metal Magazine, Image Comics, and White Wolf. Like, he's been around the block. What's up, Avery? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Avery's artwork is actually what is featured inside of the Ashcan.
Yes,
so he's did the cover. It's his artwork that'll be in the Origin comic coming up in August, and so it's pretty exciting.
I'm working on that right now as we speak.
Which is why his camera's off.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm working on a page right now.
No spoilers. Awesome, brother. Well, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. And right down here, down below, exactly where he should be. What's up, Andrew? How are you, man?
There are definite reasons why Avery's camera is off right now. So,
Because I'm so pretty.
I know.
How are you?
You don't want to break the internet. I'm fantastic.
So Andrew is also a legendary indie comics guy. He owns his own retail store in Jacksonville, Florida. One of the best comic shops I've ever been to, and I'm not saying that just because he's a friend. It's a legitimately amazing shop. I don't know how many books you've drawn, Andrew. I have half my bookshelf has your books. I'm gonna say 5, 6. You're muted. Oh, he's sneezing. Great. 6. We'll just say 6.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
And we just got back from HeroesCon together, which was freaking awesome.
We did. It was great. We had a good time.
It was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. So welcome, brother.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
And I now have a special guest, man. So someone you guys are gonna get to know real well, hopefully. And I will say, some of his work is actually going to be appearing inside of the Ash Can. This guy right down here, Romeo, aka Ramel Davis, one of the best artists I've ever met in my entire life. That is no joke. This guy, genuine dude, and incredibly talented, and one of this group's original 4. Man, we've known each other for a long time. I'm so excited to have you here, brother. Welcome, man.
I'm overly excited. I'm not as smooth as Zach here, but I do have a nice landing strip going.
Well, I got my hot toddy going. I got some tea with some whiskey in it, so that's we're good to go. As long as half the group is liquored up, it should be pretty good. He's got a different landing strip. I know what he's talking about. Yeah. We're gonna get to the strip club jokes in 5 minutes.
Well, there's a reason why I have my camera chest up, because chest down, you really don't want to know what's going on down here.
No pants. No pants or best pants.
You know, that's the best. That's the best. What's up, J-Rod? J-Rod says, I have the same landing strip. Oh, man. What's up, Wizard? Welcome. I know you can't stay. He says, good vibes. Welcome, brother. Welcome. Rages is here. What's up, Rages? Welcome. Willie D, what's up, brother? Welcome. All right, let's jump in. We got some good stuff going on. We're gonna elbow bump, Wizard says. Hell yeah. All right, let's do this. So we're gonna jump in. Here's a game board. Again, if you are an adult, all you have to do is go into Discord, and there should be a place for you to see it, for you to find it. So all right, so let me just set this up. So here is how this works. So what you see on screen is the board that we have been using over the last several weeks. And what we've been doing is, over the last several weeks and months now, we have been creating stories. We've been creating stories. So the way to think about this is based off of a game called the wizard's cracking me up. So this is based originally off a game called Microscope. This is a role-playing game, and then we've expanded on it tremendously so it can fit a writer's room. The best way to think about this is at the very top, you see where it says periods. These are periods in time. So this is meant to be universal lore building. And for our purposes, as we've been working together to develop this, we have determined that a period can be, for our purposes, really like an episode or an issue. So if you think about it, we have Blood and Metal, that could be an episode or an issue. And then we were doing some tying down, so that's why it has a beat sheet. We'll go into that in a minute. The Gloam Awakens, Are You Sure? The Auditors of Destiny, Her Name Was Jurassica. The Grand Heist, Belly of the Beast, A Matter of Faith, Arrival of the Battle Planet, etc., etc., etc. Imagine these as episodes within a season or issues within a volume, right? And then as you move south, as you move down, these are essentially events and events that happen within that episode or movie or period or whatever you want to define it. And then inside of events are scenes that describe that event, right? And so the way that this game is played is really simple. Normally, when we'll talk about exactly how we're going to structure it tonight, because it might be a little different, but normally we just take turns and we fill out scenes or events. And it's just a way for us to throw spaghetti at the wall. And then over time, through varying rounds, we start to edit down and refine. So we started with Blood and Metal, and we did sort of this round robin game for a couple of weeks, and we got a really good story out of it. And then we moved into the beat sheet, which is a structured way to craft a story. And so we started moving into the actual story of Blood and Metal. And then we ended up with some odds and ends and stuff like that. So in fact, I'm also going to open up, let me just do this. I will open up the other sheets that I have. We're not going to go through all of it in detail because I don't want to overwhelm, but we'll go into it as we move. So I think for tonight, what we might want to do is we may want to go through the beat sheet and review and see if there's anything we want to refine. Does that sound like something you guys want, or do you guys want to just start something totally new and hop into another project, another episode? Don't all jump up in one time. I'm going to share my screen here.
We can review. That'd be all right.
Yeah, I vote we review.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
I'll
good.
go with the majority.
We can't just go straight, into omnibussy.
This is true.
So basically, Avery requires a little foreplay, huh?
Yes. Little bit. Just a little bit of
Yeah, a
foreplay.
little bit of warm up.
Gotcha.
It's been a while. I
It's
was
been a
absent.
while.
I was absent some recently.
Awesome. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. You can see on the right side over here, this is the second stage. This is the beat sheet. It looks kind of complicated. It's actually fairly simple. I'll walk you through that in a minute if you've never seen this before. In the meantime, I'm just gonna read the beat sheet. And we'll go down and we will see what happens. So, war, kingdom being attacked as the emperor king plans for battle. Called to his wife in labor, a midwife witch, child is stillborn. The sign is that you are cursed. Death and destruction is coming to your kingdom. Fire from the sky, and then a meteor comes. Opening. So this is the opening shot. A tribe attacking a village. There's a slaughter. Meteor crashes into one of the forces, decimating them. The theme of the entire this entire story. Be careful what you wish for, and it'll come through a discussion about siring a male heir. A seer, or an old blind lady, like a seer, someone who sees, like a oracle kind of person. Soothsayer. Thank you. Yep. Sees an image of total destruction and warns the king that this is going to happen and he must stop it. The setup. So you can see basically what we're doing is we're marching through this. So opening image, theme stated, setup. All of these are the beats that happen inside of a modern story. So this is your 3-act structure with all of the ups and downs and all the stuff that you need to have play. So we're basically just filling in the blanks one at a time. So setup. At home, the king and the queen have a sad/tense discussion about their miscarriage. He and his queen are having trouble conceiving. A scene of heated discussion regarding the issue. The king is getting older and needs an heir. The setup for work, which is the middle box over here. Preparing soldiers for dealing with an invading army. A scene within that says the high priest and the general. The high priest blesses the army on its way out and exhorts them to obey the king who is chosen by the gods. The general is the brother of the queen and is ambitious in his own right. He serves as the second in command of the army. Now we're going into setup. We're still in the phase over here with play. During the scene, word comes about the meteor. King decides to go to the crater to investigate. Catalyst. So the catalyst is the thing that moves the story and moves the main character from the world that he or she knows into this brand new world, right? It's like, and I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but it's basically like in Die Hard, you know, all of a sudden the terrorists take over the building and Bruce Willis now has to save his wife and kids, right? So
wait a minute.
So,
Doesn't the terrorists take over the building at the end of the movie?
well, no,
What
the
in
terrorists
Die Hard?
and he's just
Well,
messing
Mel, we're just screwing with him.
because I'm so bad.
Trust
at
me,
that
we're
part.
just screwing with him. Just
I'm
Okay.
so bad. I'm so bad at like nailing the off the top of my head that he's just making fun of me. Catalyst, Gilgamesh, which is I think who we just kind of gave a name to the king, just to call him something. Gilgamesh gathers his army and travels to the crash site. They find a massive crater. Gilgamesh and his men go into the crater. They find what to them seems like a chariot of the gods, but is in reality a spaceship from the universe that predates our own with twisted alien geometries. Think like Kirby tech or something like that. They follow the howling to a central chamber where they make an astonishing discovery. There's a glowing ball of energy that resolved itself into an obese teenage boy who wakes up as they approach and demands to be fed. When a warrior makes a threatening move at him, the man is disintegrated by a blast of zero negative energy. When the king tosses him some food and drink, the boy thanks him and follows him around like a child with unquestioning loyalty. The king asks the boy, "What are you?" And so what this boy will be is one of our main villain characters called the Primordial. So inside of season 1, we have this giant, massive character who's the size, he's almost like a Kirby monster who has a crown of thorns, and instead of a crown of thorns, it's actually a crown that's skyscrapers. So he's just like, he wears basically like a city block on his head as a crown. So it's huge, right? So he will eventually be, this boy will eventually be that Godzilla-like character, that alien Godzilla-like character. The catalyst, the king chooses to use the creature. The king plans to use the Primordial's power for his own ambition, and the king, afraid of being obsolete, tries to subdue the creature, offers a drugged concoction meant to docile him, hoping it will kill him. Instead, the Primordial reverts to a childlike state. So you can kind of see that's from an older framing, and then we had the new framing, which is he feeds the boy. So you can see we're just kind of playing with ideas here. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Regardless, the boy comes back with the king. Debate. So this is basically the end of Act 1. Right here, the big yellow box on the right. So debate. At home, the wife takes in the child, regarding it as a son she never had. The king approves for now, needing an heir. The work. The child's powers grow quickly, and the king desires them for his own purposes. He seeks to use them to defeat his enemies. Play. He must prevent the destruction that has been foretold. The king brings the child into battle. Its powers level a neighboring city. The king is pleased, and the child enjoys it. The queen doesn't approve and tries to teach the child the value of human life. This does not please the king. And so one of the things with debate is it's not necessarily while the main protagonist has to willingly go into the second act and go into this new world. He or she always has like this debate whether or not they really want to do it or not, because they don't really want to change as a character. They don't really want to do this thing, but they're forced into a situation, and then they're forced to accept the terms of that situation and move forward, right? If they don't, then there's no story. So they have a debate with themselves, and they decide to do this, right? In Obi-Wan, the show that was out now that on Disney, the debate was, Obi-Wan is supposed to watch after Luke, and that's his duty to Luke, and he doesn't want to leave. And finally, he has a conversation with, I can't remember, Leia's dad, whatever, and he's convinced to go on this journey to rescue Leia. So that's kind of the debate that happens. So debate, another debate. Home, no error. Work because of weakness. He's seen as a weak play. What the hell can you do? There's no solution. So we're breaking into the second act. The king wants to be a conqueror. Problem: no errors make him weak in the eyes of his enemies. Failing empire / kill the child or use it for my power. And then there's an event inside of Fun and Games where we start looking at the training of the Primordial. Fun and games are the trailer moments. Like, so anytime you watch a trailer, you're almost always seeing shots and scenes from the fun and games moment. There's horrors that the primordial goes through to make him the monster the king wants. Wild beasts, first battles, decimates a village, kills a kid in front of him as a lesson. Really nasty stuff. The B story, which is usually the love story or the buddy part, it doesn't have to be like love. It can be like the friendship or the mentor. It's a emotional love. Is the love from the queen and the distance from the father. And then we have some examples of heroes training, which we can talk about. So the villains move. So the villain moves in, and this is into let's see, where is that? That comes in right after Fun and Games. It might actually be out of order now that I think about it, but I don't know, it might be right. I'm looking at another map here. What does the primordial do that draws suspicion from the witch? Primordial won't perform in battle until the mom arrives. He craves her attention. Once there, he puts on a show. Primordial is manipulating the queen for his own uses, plays up to mom. Primordial enjoys affection, never had that before, so he courts more of it, extreme, like a drug. The king reacts emotionally. The witch understands that this is intelligent planning. The queen has all the power over his weapon. And now, what's up, Hype? How are you doing? Hype says hi. Welcome.
Question: who's the witch?
I believe the witch is the seer.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's that we were kind of, because these were
Yes.
written on different nights, I believe
Yes.
it's the same.
Yes, that's the seer. Yes, same.
Okay. Gotcha.
So trial run also within Fun and Games. What happens when the primordial is used in battle for the first time? The king sends the primordial against the city of Larsa, which he wants to add to his own kingdom. The primordial transforms into a being of pure elemental fire and completely incinerates the enemy army, and then does the same thing to the city, blasting it from the face of the earth. The river is boiled away, the fields are turned to glass, the people are turned to ash and blown away in the wind, and all that remains of a great city are a few broken fragments of wall. The primordial has destroyed the king's enemies, but also destroyed the prize that the king sought, which I think is pretty cool because that's kind of the arc of this entire story. I'm going to skip just a little bit just for time. Let's see, we'll go to midpoint, the midpoint of the whole thing, where they're off to see the oracle. The king needs to figure out what to do about the primordial and the queen's growing power over him. The oracle answers in a riddle. Mighty is Gilgamesh, but his queen shines like a star in the night. If great Gilgamesh strikes down his queen, a great power will arise and the greatest enemy will fall. Which is also pretty cool because it doesn't necessarily mean that she's talking about what it sounds like she's talking about. And then we have some different midpoint parts. How might the king's plans and accomplishments get derailed? And then the big impact of the midpoint is that the king kills his queen, whom he now sees as a threat to his power. The primordial, now bereft of the one being in the universe who ever showed him love and affection, now for the first time feels grief and hatred. It hits him harder than it would anyone else because he has no context for it. So it cuts deeper and unbalances him far more than a human. The primordial now loses any last vestiges of respect and obedience for the king, and views him as a most hated and mortal enemy to be utterly destroyed. He turns his power against the king and his city. And so as we move in, the consequences of the king's murder, how does the king plan to fight against the primordial? The primordial ship has been placed in one of the temples in the city. Inside is a spear made from what appears to be obsidian, but it's far stronger. And what the king doesn't know is that the spear can neutralize a primordial, but only if another life is spent to activate it, which is freaking awesome. Bad guys close in, so now we're rounding out the bottom of the clock and we're coming back. What's the plot twist that follows? The king goes to get the spear. However, the high priest in the temple turns on him, along with his top general, who is also the brother of the queen. In their culture, the king is expected to protect the kingdom against all enemies. By failing to do so, he has shown that he has forfeited the favor of the gods. The high priest and the general strike the king down and badly wound him. They approach the primordial and kneel before him, offering him the kingship of the city and ultimately the world. The king has lost. All is lost. The all is lost moment is when everything looks at its worst. King has lost everything, barely escapes with his life. At this point, we have a little bit of an interesting thing because he meets one of his mistresses from his brothel area, and she helps the king out of the city as one last favor. Along the way, he encounters people from the town who shame him for what he's done. His mistress, too, can barely hide her disgust. She will do no more for him as soon as she helps him escape. Now alone, the king considers all he lost. When we break into the third act, the king finally understands that in order to gain his honor, he must kill the primordial. He remembers a staff of power, so that's the staff of power we talked about. Gathering the team. So the king goes into the palace, proves why he was always a badass in the first place. He goes to the front door and basically kills everyone who's getting in his way. We kind of imagine this almost like that shot from Daredevil, where Daredevil's in the hallway and he's like barely able to stand, but just kind of like kicks ass and takes names all the way down the hallway. You find the primordial who's using bodies as a throne. He rips off a model of a Colosseum and places it on his head. He's now demanding human sacrifices. As the king battles his way through, the townspeople fight back. They are controlled by the primordial. As the king gets to the throne room, the primordial descends, and his throne, which is made from the bodies of soldiers, breaks apart into two thing-like masses. So if you remember the movie The Thing, just like these crazy body mass things, like weird Akira-like masses. The king finds the staff. The staff can destroy the primordial. King remembers this from when he discovered the baby, the primordial as a baby. He remembered that he had seen it or something like that. The king uses a spear to fight the primordial and stabs into the monster's heart. However, the spear requires the life energy of the person wielding it to work. And when the king strikes down the primordial, he starts to die as well. The resulting energy blast completely levels the city. So finally, everything is wasteland. The king and the primordial face off together over the wasteland of bodies and fire. The king realizes that he is to blame for everything. In a last effort to regain his honor, he takes his own life, which was the sacrificial thing that he did. The primordial just blankly stares as the king bleeds out into the sand. Suddenly, with a wave of his hand, the primordial reanimates the king. The king rises, chink sunken in, bones begin to show. His skin has turned a cold, dead blue. The king opens his eyes once more and slumps and stumbles behind the primordial as they both walk off into the sunset. The king has received immense power, just not as he imagined it. So we have and this is for Romel, we have a character called Solar Mannequin, which is kind of a imagine the Silver Surfer crossed with a UPS driver, right?
That's exactly what it is. You're right, the segue.
He's there to deliver
intergalactic
intergalactic packages of doom. So he really is dressed in a FedEx / UPS outfit. Anyway, so
yeah, I'm gonna let that slide, but go ahead.
You would appreciate it. So anyway, so
if I had immense power like that, UPS would not be here. There would be a huge freighter where that site is. I would be sitting on a throne of corpses.
I believe that with all my heart. You would be the primordial.
I'm the one person you cannot give unlimited power to.
That's correct. So basically, the primordial. One of the aha moments of the story is that this king ends up becoming this character, Solar Mannequin, and is in basically becomes the herald of the primordial through this story. So he has immense power like a Silver Surfer, but he is now indebted and basically enslaved by the primordial, and that is sort of he has to the final scene. The king, who will one day be known as a Solar Mannequin, wanders the earth, living forever in regret and tormented by his memories. So kind of a cool origin story for both of these characters. both for Solar Mannequin, which is pretty cool, and also for Primordial, who really, up until we crafted this, was kind of just like one-dimensional giant monster guy. And now, because of this, you're like, wait, this character actually had kind of like a Darth Vader moment where he had some good in him. It was just like taken away, right? And so as our heroes down the road actually come into contact with this thing, they might see only a stark raving mad Godzilla-like monster that wants to stomp a city or something, but we actually know the deeper story.
Like a kaiju.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. So that is the story. That is where we are. Do you guys want to take a stab at refining, or do you want, or how do you guys feel? Should we take a stab at refining it? Tonight's a little different than other nights because we had a couple weeks break because of NFT NYC and Heroes Con. So I totally expect all of us to be a little rusty. What do you guys think?
If I may.
Yeah, pop in.
I'd like to take a stab at kind of refining some aspects of it.
Let's do it.
Well,
can you see this okay?
no, I can't see it worth a damn. So
Cool.
I'll take you for your word.
No worries.
One thing that caught my attention was you said the king, his wife, and the king's brother. I mean, the wife's brother.
Yeah.
You're all like three power figures so far as in your story.
Mm-hmm.
I was just brainstorming about the power struggle. Like they're kind of conspiring against each other kind of secretly because they all have different motivations so far as in just kind of owning that particular power or just basically being able to manipulate the prime mortal is. Mm-hmm. So that was just a brainstorming.
Honestly, I think if there's a good character in this entire story, it's the wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I don't think she wants power. She's not trying to get power. She's not trying to be the leader. She's not trying to take over. Her brother might be. Her brother might want to do that in the long run. We really
haven't developed, like we've been focusing. This is a good point, Ramel. Like Andrew too. Like we've on our first pass we focused on the primordial and the king, almost like a two act play, right? But we really haven't developed the general at all. He was someone that came up in our last talk, and we really haven't developed the wife either. She's just, or the mother. She's just kind of like right now. I do think she has some potential. Like what are her motivations other than just being like soulful saint mother, you know? Unless she really is just super good person.
Well, I mean, like you said, with them not being able to conceive a child,
mm-hmm.
that could heavily play into her personal motivations for whatever reasons. I mean, if you know women and motherhood and stuff like that, so that is a angle that could be played. And well, her brother, so to speak, he's not in a position of power, but he sees the primordial as an opportunity to, you know, be more than what he is. Right. So in order for him to make his play, he has to manipulate his relationship with his sister in order to, you know, kind of be the guy behind the scenes that pulls the strings, so to speak.
Todd, I just thought of a really nasty twist.
Okay.
The wife's motivation is not to take power for herself. She's not Cersei from Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Her goal is to have her child, her son, her sibling, it's not sibling, but her child take over for the king, because the king is getting old and going to die. Mm-hmm. And she wants his legacy to continue. The general knows that if she ever had a child, that would become the next emperor and he would lose out. He's been slowly poisoning her over the years to cause her to miscarry.
Oh, shit.
To keep her from having an heir. He's been behind that the entire time.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
That's cool. I love that.
Because he knows that if the king dies and he has no heir, he is the natural taker over and become king.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that not sickeningly disgusting?
Yeah, that's. I mean,
I like that.
Story.
I like that.
He's been sneaking stuff into her drinks for years to cause her womb to be barren or whatever, or to cause all the miscarriages. He's been behind it since day one.
So
I hate this guy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So where should we? Let's see. Wizard, by the way, had to bounce, but he said, "Story is sounding great."
Is there a part of this world building where we take one character at a time and just build up their characters?
Yes. So that's the next part. So remember how
I'm a genius.
Before we got to this, remember how before we got to this phase we did the Dan Harmon clock, the 8 simple steps.
Yep.
You basically do that for each character because that's the story arc for each character, right? And then you just kind of pump it back here, and it'll actually polishes this step, right? Because then you'll actually know the story arc of each character. So, but let's go ahead really quick. Let's pop that because we can do that next week, right? We can start developing character arcs for this story and just focus on one character. We can do that next week. So, where would we put this? So we would introduce the general, and Avery and Zach, feel free to pop in. We would introduce the general probably at the beginning. I mean, it's got to be in the setup, right? We haven't really introed, so I'm just gonna randomly put in somewhere. So the general would probably be in a work area because the work is preparing soldiers for dealing with the invading army. So let's say the general. How would we give me a slight event, because we have work preparing soldiers for dealing with the invading army. In fact, I could maybe even, I'm going to just kind of keep talking out loud here. You could even say king works with the general.
Yeah, whatever the king's doing, whenever the baby's being born, like the general should be there in that scene where the king comes from, whatever planning.
I mean, the way I would see it is, I agree with Avery. There is basically the king, the general is kind of like the Starscream to the king's Megatron. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Todd, you need me to explain that reference to you?
Oh, funny, haha.
So so basically, I guess he would always he would always be around the king, basically kiss licking his boots, but it's also, as he's a general, he's also the guy who musters the troops, and but I guess what we could do as when the meteor falls, and the king musters the army to take a look at it. We have a scene or maybe a scene or a panel which shows the general kind of like looking at the king, covetously, like there's like greed in his eyes. So he looks at the king and and you can sort of see in his eyes, I could do that job better than him. Why don't you just hurry up and die already? So
Okay.
Basically the idea is that like in the old Transformers movies, he's obsequious to the king. He obeys what the king is doing. But when the king's back is turned, you see his ambition. So that's how we introduce him, as the army's being mustered.
I have another twist.
Hold on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw in here, basically the plot point that the general, I'll just say it is because we can organize this later. It is revealed that the general has been slowly poisoning the queen for years in order for her to miscarry.
All right, I got another twist to throw in that affects this.
And I have a question. I have a question right after your twist, but go ahead, please.
It's not the general that's poisoning her. It's the seer, the old lady.
Damn it.
And the old lady is the general's mother.
And that's their
The seer and the general have been behind everything from day one.
That answers my question, because basically I was going to ask, like, how was the general able to seduce the mother without the soothsayer even being knowing anything about it? But yeah, that's good.
You remember what's his name's Robin Hood, where the sheriff of Nottingham had the old lady, the old witch. That's what I'm imagining.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. So we just said it is revealed that the seer, who is the general's mother,
and the queen's mother. That's one of the reasons why she has such a high level of access to the king, is because she's the queen and the general's mother.
Oh, I see, their brother and sister.
Yeah.
Who is the general and the queen's mother, has been slowly poisoning the queen for years in order for her to miscarry. Why? She wants the power for her general son.
Exactly.
The ruling power.
The older the king gets, the more likelihood he's going to die without an heir, and he's next in line. Oh, what a bunch of nasty ass people. I love it.
They're just like Romans.
Yep.
Honestly, whenever I watch a show, a TV show, I always latch on to one or two characters, and it's not always the main character. It could be some secondary character who I like. So far in this story, the queen is like my good guy, and the general and his wicked ass stepsister's mother is my favorite bad guy. Has nothing to do with the king, nothing to do with the primordial. Those characters are so much more interesting. I don't know why, but they are.
No, it's really good. It's really great. We could, okay. That sounds great. I think that actually answers a lot of stuff, because we added the general, the seer had been there from the beginning, but she, aside from being an oracle, she didn't have a point, and now she actually has like an actual major point in the story. Right. And the general's the same thing. Like the general, it made sense for him to be in there. You need someone to kind of run the army, but it didn't really make a lot of sense other than him like being someone in the box.
He was a throwaway background character.
He was a throwaway background character, and now he's kind of a major figure.
Yeah, now he's pretty cool. Now he's a player.
Todd is the general who is wicked ass evil. Can he be a character in the universe as well?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
I mean, is there somebody that could have an origin where this could be him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is that as we move forward, like as we create new characters by doing this, there's no reason why they can't come back as something else, right? I mean, how cool would it be how cool would it be if there is a character that comes out as a card, or we're using in a comic, in a modern day, let's just say a modern day X-Men battle or something, and all of a sudden it turns out that he was actually the guy from the general from back in the day, and
maybe even have the queen be somebody in the future,
Yeah, there's no rule. I mean, we're making the rules, right?
Who came up with the idea?
That kind of reminds me of remember the 90s series Gargoyles? We had the one character Macbeth.
Who was Macbeth?
Who was Macbeth, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
And you basically you're almost setting up a Highlander kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
Like there can be only one where they start chopping everyone's heads off.
Todd, Gargoyles was a really cool Disney cartoon.
Yep.
That I was just making sure.
Yeah, I know what Gargoyles is.
I am never ever gonna let it go, Todd. Sorry.
So, Andrew, real quick question on that. With your general, with that particular character, let me ask you this question: is he inherently evil, or does certain circumstances make him do evil things?
Well, I tell you what, if
That's a
I'm
good question.
going to slowly poison my own sister in order to be king, that's freaking evil.
Yes, but
You know?
is
But
it
is it the
inherently
mother
evil? This is the question. Is he doing these evil acts to end one life to save 1,000?
Mm.
Oh, absolutely not. He does it because he wants power.
But is it? But it
It has
more,
nothing to do.
Is it more his will or his mother's?
Well, that's a question.
That's a good question,
That's
too.
a question we can.
Have any of you guys ever seen the movie The Curse of the Golden Flower?
No.
It's an old wuxia movie with Chow Yun-fat and Gong Li, old Chinese kung fu movie. Basically it's based on an old Chinese folktale about an emperor who, for reasons that aren't really explained, slowly poisons his empress by forcing her to take a certain medicine every day.
Oh.
And in this particular movie, the character of the emperor is he's not shown as he's not like a snidely whiplash kind of evil, but more like a very
Whiplash.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's very old reference. But in the movie, he's portrayed not as like mustache twirling, evil laugh, crazy evil. He's very smooth. Well, he's Chow Yun-fat basically. He's very smooth, very collected, very calm, very rational, but very menacing. And the evil, and the reason why he would do it is not because he hates his sister. It's just that he's essentially a sociopath. He he doesn't see his sister as a person. He doesn't see anyone else as a person really. Mm-hmm. They're just tools for his own to advance whatever it is he's trying to do. And that's, to my mind, that's how this might happen. Is why would he poison his sister? Well, she's his sister. Wouldn't he love her? Well, no, not really. This is a guy who, he may love his sister, but it just doesn't register for him. He sees her. He's as far as he's concerned, she's just a tool that he will use and then discard.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in this kind of society, his sister is a tool.
So basically,
doesn't make, to Romel's point, does it make sense that he would, even if he sees his sister as a tool to be used or wants the power for himself, does it make you, to Romel's point, you may have the opportunity to have sort of like maybe this guy has an overbearing sense of patriotism in his own way, where he's like, if I kill, he wants the power and he knows the power that it's going to bring, but it's for the glory of the kingdom, right?
Or does he have narcissistic tendencies to add a little bit more context to it?
Well, in this era in which we're sitting, which is basically the Bronze Age. Oh, and by the way, I think I put forward an idea last week, is that instead of setting it in ancient Sumeria, we set it in Atlantis, because that way it's going to mean less historical research for us. But either way is fine. But in this historical period, there were fights with siblings killing each other happened all the time. Every time the king died, it was a tradition in Assyria, Sumeria, and elsewhere that that the sons would gang up and basically beat the crap out of each other, and whoever survived was the new king. So something else to consider is that and also something else to keep in mind is that brothers and sisters weren't necessarily that close to each other, because they may have been born from the same mother and the same parents, but they may not have been raised together. I mean, they were the kings had harems, they might have hundreds of wives. So why and if you were born from a different mother than the other guy, and not even ever really seen your father more than a handful of times in your entire life, you wouldn't see him as a brother. He would just be an obstacle. Or maybe we could say that he was fostered. That the daughter, that his sister was fostered with a different family or was raised in a different part of the palace. You never really knew her. So while she is technically his sister by blood,
right.
Why he has no emotional connection with her. They're basically strangers.
So it sounds like we're actually moving in to the character development circle. Should we start jumping into that? Do you guys want to try it?
Yeah, a lot of times that helps.
Honestly, I think we have the story, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's just we just got to figure out, you know, why the characters do what they do.
All right. So let's do this. I'm gonna create in the same layout. I'm just gonna go ahead and sorry for the scrolling.
Well, anyway, before you do that, here's an idea to bounce around. Another thing from history. I'm a big history buff, which is why I'm always bringing it up. In the ancient Ottoman Empire, which is now Turkey, it was the rule for a long time that when a new king, when a new sultan came to power, the procedure was that all his existing male relatives, brothers, uncles, cousins, etc., down to a certain degree, would be ritually strangled with a bowstring, you know, as a way of preventing anyone from as a way of preventing civil wars and, you know, disputed successions. So maybe we could try something like that as well. That he wants power, but maybe the rule is that as someone who's like somewhere in the line of succession, if the king dies, it might be the custom here that, you know, he'll have to die as well, you know, to just to clear the path for any potential heir.
Okay, interesting.
So, you know, because if you look at a lot of histories, a lot of the intrigues in that time, it boiled down to civil survival. They knew that if, you know, whoever came out on top was going to murder everybody else. So, you know, it kind of made them all a little more focused on and ruthless. At least that's my 2 cents on it.
Maybe part of the culture is that when the king dies, his heirs can challenge each other to take over the throne. But if he doesn't have any, the general feels he can easily take over without having to shed any blood whatsoever.
Like a soft coup?
Maybe he's a coward in the long run. Maybe he's a sniveling coward who doesn't want to fight, because if the queen never has a child, he has no challengers.
You mean like more of like a political general than a military one? Maybe.
Well, yeah, you know what? A lot of that reminds me, and I would invite you to watch this this one series if you haven't already seen it. Spartacus, awesome series, some of the best writing ever. And a lot of what you all talked about was about people taking power and their particular motivations. There was one character, his name was Asher, and he was part of the because it was a story they wrote about Spartacus. Whether that actually happened, don't know. But one of the gladiators was named Asher, and he was basically like the weakest of all the gladiators. However, he was the most cunning and manipulative. He couldn't beat anyone in a straight up fight. But the way he lied and moved people around and manipulated him, he really kind of created the house to what it was behind the scenes. It really kind of screwed him at the end, but he was so clever with his words because he was much more than what he presented himself to be through his mind. So I don't know if that's something you want to add to generally. I'm just laying it out there.
Right, that could be kind of cool. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. So I have up here the simplified story circle. So basically, these two things are exactly the same. The circle on the left and the boxes on the right are the exact same thing. It's just that the 8 steps, the clock on the left is the simplified version. So we go through when you're crafting a story, you can use this 8-step clock to just get some beats in there real quick, like just nice and dirty. And then you can go in on the right into the more detailed side. We can also use this this clock for character development because every character goes through the exact same cycle, which is just like a story does, right? Because the characters are inside of the story. So there's 8 steps. 1, which is you, which is a character in a zone of comfort. 2, need, they want something. 3, go, they enter an unfamiliar situation. 4, they search, which is them adapting to this new situation. 5, the bottom of the clock, is they find. they find what they wanted. Number 6 is that they take it, but they have to pay a price. And then number 7 is return and go back to where they started. But 8, they are now changed or capable of change. And then the other things to notice is that on top of it says life, conscious order, and the bottom is death, unconscious disorder. And a lot of times what you can do is you can actually create really simple concepts in here. You might have at the top right quadrant from 1 to 3, you might have like, let's see, like innocent, oh god, coming off the top of my head is really difficult, but basically you can have very simple things that push the character forward, right? So for instance, if someone is innocent in the first section, well then by the time they've changed, they're not innocent anymore, right? If they're villainous, maybe they've turned into hero or something. You're right. They've gone through this cycle of change, and each time it stacks. I have some examples. I just don't have them like on me the second. I might try to find it real quick because it's easier to explain. But what we can start to do is at least talk about. Let's focus on the general as the you, a character in the zone of his comfort. What is the general's zone of comfort, like his normal day to day before all of this, right? Like who is he? We've kind of been talking about that. Zach, if you want to take the lead on writing while I look this up, I'm going to try to find something really quick while we talk about it anyway.
This is a character who I could easily see as like the king's best friend when they were kids. Someone who always there for him.
They definitely would have been raised together, trained together.
Yep.
Educated together.
Okay, hold on. So what is the relationship between the general and the king? All right, so how about this? We show them, maybe show a flashback to their childhood. The general and the king as boys training together. Like maybe like that scene from Alexander with Alexander and Hephaestion. But maybe it was like that in the beginning. But I don't know how gay you want to make it, but no offense to anyone who's hearing that, by the way.
Pretty gay.
Well, that's how it was back then. I mean, all right. So boys training together, adventuring together, etc.
Exploring together.
Yeah. Okay.
I've added.
All right. Okay.
No.
I am very. I already regret. I already regret even mentioning that.
Here,
No.
This is what I was. This is what I was talking about.
But I'll wait for you all to finish.
This is what I while you thought really quick, just to show you kind of the life conscious order, life death, conscious unconscious, order disorder, and how it kind of changes. So this is for Die Hard. The basic simple character development of Die Hard for Bruce Willis's character is he's a stubborn cop with a failing marriage. Then the situation changes. It's not failing marriage, it's terrorist attack. But he's still stubborn. So he goes from stubborn failing marriage to stubborn terrorist attack to not stubborn terrorist attack, and then not stubborn failing marriage.
All right, so this is what I got.
See how that changes?
Yeah. Who is the general? What is the relationship between the general and the king? Show a flashback to their childhood. The general and king as boys, training together, adventuring together, etc. They were as close as brothers, but then something happened to break his loyalty. I have an idea about that, and we mentioned that the general and the seer are, the general is the son of the seer. Well, what if we say that the seer? All right, have you any of you guys seen The Northman?
I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will not to be a plot spoiler, but basically, in that movie, the main character's mother, who he vows to who he vows to save, was actually taken as a slave and sexually assaulted by the father, and so basically what we could say is that, you know, so she was a slave originally, and maybe what we could say here is that the reason why he turns against the king and wants to usurp him is that his mother was maybe taken as a slave, and that he is the result of a liaison between the community, and he's the result of you know, and not that willing liaison between maybe the old king and her. So maybe the idea is that and, you know, basically now maybe that because of her powers as a seer, she was able to rise above her station. But you know, he was raised in the palace with the man who would become king. But the fact is, he's the son of a slave, and even the king, who's like his brother, has never really let him forget it. So maybe that could be the reason why he wants to get rid of the guy, because, you know, no matter all, he's basically raised himself up purely by merit, but at the end of the day, he'll never be more than what he is, you know, which is the son of a slave, or the son of you know, like basically a peasant or something lower than a peasant who was risen above his station, you know, something like that.
I like that.
I have a little bit of input as soon as.
All right, shoot.
When you talked about having the king and the general, they were kind of raised or played together, or however you put that. My idea is the event which actually caused a gradual divide is basically say the whole what do you call it, the spider and the fly, whatever that is. It's like they have two different interpretations of who do you save, the spider or the fly. So it's like mentally one favors the spider, the other favors the fly, and it's like that divide kind of took its own course in their separate lives, to where, hey, they're still cool and they're good, but they have different resolves. I have the resolve of the spider, and I have the resolve of the fly. So that's just putting that out there.
All right, so let me.
That's cool.
One,
yeah.
The general is the son of a slave and the old king, and is always reminded of his low birth. He resents. And two, spider and fly. All right, that's what I got. Tyler, I got to step away for a sec, so can you take over the writing?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Awesome. Very cool. So you, which is childhood, the general and kings are boys training together, venturing together. They were close as brothers, but something happened to break his loyalty. The general is the son of a slave and the old king, and is always reminded of his low birth, which he resents, the spider and the fly. So I think at the beginning of the story, the general, at least on the surface, right? He's in charge of putting the king's orders together, right? We've talked about in the actual story, they're working together to overthrow this other town, right? This other city, right? So he, at least surface level, should be well, I guess to Andrew's question, is he a warrior or is he a political strategist? Is he a suit or is he an armor-clad general?
I don't think he'd be in the king's level, period. Just simply because if he had strength and ability, he could challenge the king. He knows he never can defeat the king in combat.
No. Here's one better. I think make him better than the king. Make him a badass. It's just he's never been allowed to beat the king. This is the dude that's going to be king. You're training with him, so you're not allowed to show him up, even though you're progressing faster and you're better.
And then he's constantly reminded because of his mother, he will never be king. He'll never advance point.
I'm back
past a certain point, and even though he's training with the guy, taking the same lessons, but he's learning it. He's better at it, but he's never allowed to actually kick his ass. He's always told, he's like, you got to let the king win. You got to let the young prince win. He's going to be the king. You can't beat him.
Oh, so check this. Let me drop this in a bucket. Let's say with the spider and the fly thing, like the general, he would represent the spider because he has no resolve about taking another person's life. Much like a spider, the spider kills in order to feed, their siblings or whatever. Yet the disposition of the king is more so of the fly. You really, death is not really your thing. You want to save everybody. So, but if you save the fly, then the spider starves. So that you can kind of expand upon that. So therefore, the poison is using is derived from a poisonous spider or some shit like that. I don't know.
So something like a master strategist and warrior, the general plots the king's next siege of a neighboring land. On the surface, he is a content servant to the king, while in line for the throne, he knows he will never be king, never advance beyond his lot in life. And again, this is all surface, right?
Yeah.
Like, because if as a character beginning, like a character in a zone of comfort, when we first meet this character, he is like, to us, the audience, he is a dedicated servant to the king. Yes, my lord. Here are some battle plans or whatever, right? Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
What does he need? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be public. This is legit. Like, what does he want? He wants to be king, right?
Yeah,
or does he?
He wants power because if his sister's queen and there's no heirs, and he will be able to take places. What's that called? You put somebody in charge until there's a king.
A regent.
Yeah, he would be able to take control as regent.
Didn't that happen with Caesar, where they appointed him to take power or some shit like that?
His power was expanded.
Yes, Caesar was appointed dictator for life.
Yeah.
So Rome didn't have a king at the time.
Yeah.
But
he wants. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's like there's all sorts of stories in fantasy and history about that exact thing happening. Like some guy who for whatever reason can't be king, taking power, and basically putting a child on the throne, and then when the child starts reaching his majority where he actually would be king, he suddenly has a fall from his horse or chokes on a chicken bone.
Yeah. Gets sick and mysteriously dies, and then some other schmuck gets the job, and then until he's, poisoned off as well. Yeah.
So he wants power. If his sister is the queen and the king is dead, he becomes regent if there's no male heir. His legend grows over those. His legend already grows over those he has personally beaten. They fear him. Does that sound accurate?
Sure. Sounds good.
Basically, would it be fair to say that he wants the power that he would never inherit on his own.
Yeah.
The kind, that's great. The kind of power that he could never inherit or achieve on his own. Right? That next level power. It's really interesting because we're also dealing with like an entire. I'm actually curious how this clock is going to go, because one of the things we haven't talked about is how the primordial affects his plans, because he's going to be in vicinity to something that is the most powerful being on Earth, at least at this time, right? Bless you, bro.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Cool. So that is, I'm going to say that that's his need. Let me just go ahead and edit that. So it just says need. And we'll say that this is you. So we know he is a master strategist and warrior. The general plots the king's next siege of a neighboring land. On the surface, he is a content servant to the king. While in line for the throne, he knows he will never be king, never advance beyond his lot in life. His need is that he wants the kind of power that he could never inherit or achieve on his own. If his sister is the queen and the king is dead, he becomes regent if there is no male heir. His legend already grows over those that he has personally beaten. They fear him. So the next part is, okay, cool. Where does he go? What is his unfamiliar situation? I mean, I guess poisoning his sister would be part of that.
Well, maybe that's something that his mother's been doing. I was just thinking that what if the attack that happens while she's giving birth, the general actually was working with the other tribe in order to set that up. That was his original plan, have the other tribe attack and kill the king so that he could take over. And then the primordial's meteorite comes down and destroys that army and totally fricks up his entire plan.
Now, is that too much though? Because you also have the mother who is poisoning the queen.
Maybe she's been doing that without his knowledge the entire time. Maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe she's working with him without him knowing about it.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
But because
he doesn't. He never knows everything. He never knows everything his mother's planning.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll say that
because she's pretty conniving.
Well, she hates the king's father, who is the one that she was enslaved to and forced to be whatever to him. And the fact that she gave him an heir that he absolutely refuses to acknowledge ever.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger sister could be somebody else's kid.
Oh yeah.
So she could be a half sister that she had after that encounter.
So let's try this. So this makes sense. So the go then, we certainly could have an event.
That way the king's not boffing his own half sister.
Which technically probably would be a possibility in the okay. This is true. With a go, we certainly could mention the general if he's plotting, if he's already had this other army attack. We could certainly do that. Or is he would probably be with the unfamiliar situation. Could also be, or maybe more so, like going with the king to discover the primordial or something like that, right?
He doesn't have anything to do with the primordial, does he, though?
Well, that's what I mean. I think we kind of are setting it up, and this is why we do these clocks like based on characters next, is because now we've set it up that he's power hungry, right? Just like the king is power hungry, right? So he has now an interest in managing the primordial as well. There's no way he's not going to be involved in trying to manipulate the primordial in some degree.
In some way.
Like there's no way, right? So, and if he is because he's the general, it would make sense that he would be with the king kind of like as a guardian escort to the meteorite. So he should be there, I think.
If the king's goal with the primordial is to have an heir, the general's goal with the primordial is to destroy that heir so that it doesn't survive. Because that would be the one thing that would get in his way of all of his plans.
Now, would it be to try to kill with the goal that, well, here's the question, with the goal, that's a really interesting point.
Maybe it's behind the scenes. He's trying to find a way to kill the primordial as a child. Maybe he's behind it, a lot of it. Throwing him into situations that could kill him, and then only to find out
they can't. Yeah,
they can't. Yeah.
So, but we could frame that. We could frame that as like
the search is to find a way to destroy the primordial.
Presents to the king that he
maybe the general is the one that finds the spear or whatever it is that could kill the primordial, not the king himself. Maybe he goes back into to where the primordial came from and finds the means of possibly killing it.
And maybe the king has to beat the general in order to confiscate the spear.
Could be.
The general's got it. Now the general has to knock off two characters. Not only the king, he has to not, which it's not happening quick enough. He's sending other foreign armies to attack them in order to knock off the king. And now he has to come up with a way to defeat the primordial as well. You know?
Okay, so we have, as an invading army attacks, which is set up by the general, a meteor, the meteor strikes. I don't want to get back into the story. The meteor hits. King and general work together to investigate.
Maybe the general's the one that tells him he should poison it or kill it.
The general commands one of the other soldiers, right, to kill it. And that guy gets incinerated.
Yeah.
King.
Well, at that point, the general sees the primordial maybe as a weapon to kill the king, and the king sees it as a weapon to destroy his enemies.
Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of putting myself in his position. What would I do? Because at that point, the king's not thinking, "Ooh, this is a potential heir." He's thinking it's a potential weapon.
Right, and that's why I think there's like this weird conversation between the queen and him, where the debate is really like weapon versus child, right?
Yeah, I think the general thinks everybody is a tool, you know, in one way or another.
So,
does he believe that everybody's a tool because of he was raised as a slave or what?
Well, I think he thinks his ultimate goal is to take over and every single person is a potential tool to get that way. Whenever he's introduced with or to somebody, he's thinking, how can I use this person to my advantage? including his
Basically,
mother,
like
including
a-
his sister, including everything.
Basically, everybody's an expendable tool.
Yep.
They once they reach their purpose, then you just cast them to the side.
Like a psychopath.
He's a horrible person.
Yeah, like a psychopath or a malignant narcissist would do.
And this is the
sociopath, not a
this is the
psychopath, a
general
sociopath.
we're talking about.
Yep, the general.
Yeah. Totally borderline personality disorder.
So let me toss this out here. Do they have like a caste system? Like, say, do they have like a slave class, a royal class, middle class, or something like that? Let's just throw that out there, because what you could say is that you have your slave class, and in order for them to elevate above that, they would have to go into the military or something like that, and that's where maybe the general, he started out as a slave. They were friends, but he started out as a slave, and in order to rise above the slave class, he went into the military and established a name for himself in the military, and that's how he got so close to this position.
Kind of like a Gladiator, right? The movie Gladiator, kind of. When he didn't start off as a slave class, or no, he was Gladiator first. So I remember.
No, it would be slave.
Oh my God!
Slave first.
He was a general that was made into a slave, and then became a gladiator. Jeez Louise. Romel,
that might not work actually.
Yeah.
His geek cred is so thin right now.
Please. I know. I have a bad memory for this kind of stuff. So Go, as an invading army attack set up by the general, the meteor hits. King and general go together to investigate, presents to the king that he believes the primordial is dangerous. General commands a soldier to kill it. That person's incinerated. The king, quote unquote, befriends the primordial because the king sees it as a weapon to kill his enemies. The general sees it as a way to kill the king. The general sees everyone as a tool to be used.
Yeah.
Sound good? So the next thing is search. And I think we actually kind of answered this in a cool way, because search and find, I mean, he's searching, the general is searching for a way. Is he, well, okay, so here's a question. What I thought I was going to write was like the general searching for a way to kill the primordial, right? And then find would be he finds the staff. But is that the case? Because
I think initially his search is to kill the king,
right,
and then thinks the primordial can be a tool for that. But when the king starts to make the primordial into an heir, he realizes he's got to kill both of them. So he's got to find a way to kill this creature that seems to be utterly unkillable.
The general wants to kill the king,
Or replace the king.
or to replace him. But when the king decides to make the primordial an heir, the general turns his attention to finding a way to kill it, right? So that's his search as to how do I kill this thing, right? Then this makes perfect sense because it's fun and games, right? The fun and games is like the trial run, like how, and again, he's not the main character, so we also don't have to show all of this, but we could. How does he try to kill the primordial?
during the Primordials quote unquote training, he sends him into situations that even a trained armed military person could not do, like throwing him into a pit with 10 tigers or something, just crazy ass stuff that even the best warrior would fail at, kind of like a Hercules type of Herculean tasks.
Oh yeah.
Exactly like that, and he survives and thrives every time.
Oh, you're still alive. Who'd have thought?
That's actually kind of cool because you could, with a little bit of finesse, you could actually, in the context of the story, because this is kind of like a secret part, right? Like the general's plans here. Like you could actually frame it in such a way that the general is kind of the Clark Kent Superman montage, right? Like Clark Kent's at school throwing the football and he throws it like outside of the stadium or some shit. You know what I mean? Like lifting the car, lifting the tractor or whatever. Like it's almost like testing his ability in the way that ancient people would. While
that wasn't Superman. That wasn't Superman. That was the Flash.
I'm just, there are stories where he lifted tractors and all. Like, you're just being a dick at this point, Andrew. You're just being a dick.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I will stop. No more for tonight. I promise.
It is fine. You are loved. But you could show these things where like he's beating 10 tigers or in a pit or battling an army as a child, and it could be shown almost as like a Superman like feat of strength, right? When in reality the general's just trying to find a way to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you want to make it like maybe semi-humorous as well? Like maybe like well, not literally, obviously it's not a movie, but maybe like we show like him doing all these things to the soundtrack of Yakety Sax in the background. It's like basically they throw him into a tiger. They throw him in the pit with a tiger. He destroys the tigers. They throw him in the pit with like a dozen gladiators. He annihilates the gladiators. We show scenes of him like using like a gladiator as a club to knock down other gladiators, using a tiger as a club to knock down bears.
He beats a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
The classic like rips a guy's arm off and beats him with it.
Yeah.
It's like Lobo or something.
Yeah.
But before we got into the Benny Hinn, how about this? With the general, it's like his dilemma is, how do you kill what cannot be killed? And like I said, he's trying to figure out ways. But what do you think about he established like a secret society that's charged with watching him? Like, okay, he like throughout his development, they're actually watching and they're paying attention to like looking for little weaknesses and stuff like that to what he's susceptible to, like fire or whatever. But they're like his sub organization that are in charge just of watching and feeding him information, something like that.
That could be cool.
And what if in the future this society still exists today?
That's what exactly too. Yeah.
I hate to steal your thunder, Romeo, but yeah, I gotcha.
No, but I mean that's all with and that all ties into the spider and the fly thing. I mean, his society could be named after some fucking rare spider or some shit like that. I'm not stuck on spiders, but I'm just saying how the fledgling beginnings of this society that's still around, that's operating in complete secrecy for centuries. That type of shit.
Yeah, for sure.
The Culver Ring of Atlantis.
Yeah, you have this. That's kind of cool because again, you could almost. I mean, if you taking it to a kind of like a Marvel thing for a second, and almost it could almost eventually become a Hydra like organization, right? Something that's been there throughout all time.
Secret societies make everything better. If you look at, no, I mean, that is no shit. If you look at most, look at James Bond. James Bond, the Daniel Craig series.
Yeah.
They had the what was the First Order, and then there was like another order, and all those worked for the last one, for the guy, I can't think of his fucking name.
Was the organization called Spectre, or was that something?
Yeah, all of them ended up working for Spectre. They're like different branches of Spectre. Like Spectre was running a whole show. Like that's just,
I like that, because it also doesn't to that point. Like when we see this group again, it could be any of the groups. You know what I mean? Like we have multiple groups in our pitch, like our pitch Bible. So it doesn't have to be like, it could be a secret society, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like, hoods and pentagrams. You know what I mean? It could be kind of like the Kingsmen or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because all that hood and tattooed, that's all cliche. It's been done over and over and over again.
Right. You could totally have it be like suits and ties or some shit. You know what I mean? Or like a royal organization or something. However it decides to morph. Whether it's like an AIM or whether it's like a Hydra or Kingsman. Like there are all of these different types of secret society like teams or cultures that don't necessarily have to be like Illuminati shit. You know what I mean?
Or you could go in a whole different direction and have the society be like the modern equivalent of Antifa. Where they're completely disorganized. They're not one single body, but they have insane followers.
Like an organization. Like
right,
would that be more of like a almost like the conspiracy network?
Very much so.
You know what I mean? Where it's like online chat room kind of thing.
Anonymous.
Yeah.
And their ultimate goal, which nobody really knows, is keeping an eye out for the primordial.
Okay.
But as time travels, as time goes on, they tend to focus on other things and broaden, and
that could be how the story gets told originally from their point of view, which leaves out a lot of this stuff that paints the primordial solely as a bad guy. When the real story gets out, we can have the redemption arc for him.
Right. Like if we at some point down the road, when they find the character that ends up doing the info dump, right? The Oracle that's like, oh, I know who this character is. I'm part of the society, and here's the character, but the information's like wrong or incomplete.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Or from the perspective of the general, right? Which is
unreliable narrator, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or he could be like the records keeper. Like in every century or whatever, you have one record keeper or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. So we have search, and I put in about the secret society. He find what they wanted. So what he really wanted was, it's a little double entendre, because he finds what they wanted, but what he wants is to kill something that's going to kill the primordial. So here he would find the staff, I believe. But the other thing that he wants is power. So I guess he would find maybe through the staff he finds power, right? Because he now has the ability to kill what can't be killed.
Well, maybe he realizes once he has something that can kill the primordial is the tool to kill the king. At first he's got to find a way to kill the king and the primordial, but once he finds the tool to kill the primordial once again is a weapon for him. Because if you think about it, if he finds the spear, knowing what the primordial is, he would use it right away if he was smart. But he's not going to, because he thinks he can use the primordial to remove the king. Maybe he has the spear the entire time, and he's holding on to it the entire time.
And he's just trying to find. Well, I don't know. I mean,
It doesn't know how to use it.
Maybe he tests it on the kid when the kid's learning. He uses it and it hurts the kid, and he realizes this is the tool to kill it. I'm not going to do it now because I can use this kid. If he's smart and conniving and thinks everybody's a tool, then that's exactly what I would do.
Well, how about this? Because, like I said, the tool that could kill him requires the life of the user. Right. So you kind of do yeah, I could kill him, but it wouldn't do me any good because it would cost me my life. Because the one tool that you can kill him with requires the life of the user. So
yeah.
So he wants to put it into the hands of the king.
That's the reason why eventually the solar mannequin is the one that's, I believe, the idea we had was the solar mannequin was originally the one that was able to put him to sleep because he had enough life force to use it without dying.
So now he has a plan, because the plan now is this, right? The plan would be to get the king to kill the primordial, right? Because with the tool.
He's got to find a reason for the king to want to kill the
right. So now but that's the plan, right? He's like, look, I've got this thing that can kill the primordial, but it's also going to kill the holder. So it's two birds with one stone. If I get the king to kill the primordial, I've eliminated both things that are a danger to me, and I become the king. So now I just have to figure out a way to get the king to turn on this heir and kill him.
And that could be your chess game right there.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a scene in which the general gives the spear to one of his soldiers and says, "Go kill that creature." And he goes to kill the creature, and instead of killing it, he wounds it, but then the guy gets blasted to atoms or something after it happens.
Well, I mean, there's also no rule that says it can only be used on the primordial. Like he could use it on a tortured, someone in the dungeon, right? And order someone to same exact thing. It's just instead of going after the primordial, because he could actually go after someone in the dungeon, and the same thing could happen, right?
Yeah, they become withered because it's a human killing a human, so it doesn't require your whole life force to do it. But that's the reason why the king fails, because his life force isn't big enough to kill the primordial when he tries to kill him.
Right.
He just dies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe instead of you're killing yourself when you use it. Maybe it weakens you. And maybe the idea that the king is stronger than the general, this is a way for him to have the king kill the primordial and then weaken himself to the point where he can take out the king. But in all honesty, the king, when he gets into his weakened state, comes back as the solar mannequin, or is able to. There's some type of power exchange, Maybe not dying, maybe seriously weakening.
Well, actually, because if you risk your life, that kind of ups the ante, kind of sort of, because if it's just to put them to sleep, then the gamble is not as big. So it's anybody can perform the task. But once you put the gamble of a life, saying that kind of dramatizes it. The stakes are higher. So who do I play to lose their life so that I can win?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. So the motivations are bigger. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I imagine this spear to be like an ultimate nullifier. The whole reason for it is so that it's never used.
What's the price that he pays for taking this action.
What action are we talking about?
So you've got the general who has discovered that the tool requires the life of a user. He's got the plan, get the king to kill a primordial with the tool and eliminate them both. But there's a price to be paid for finding this out. Because he's not a main character, it could be that he loses his life.
Ooh, what if he used it to try to hurt somebody and lost his strength or withered? Maybe that's how he realizes it can kill whoever's wielding it, or weaken whoever's wielding because he did it to himself.
Yeah, that's the reason he didn't full on kill him, is because it's a really strong human killing another human, that it wouldn't require all his life energy to do it, but it would have left him severely weakened.
I don't know if we want to totally do that, because then that kind of ruins the surprise of the king turning into a solar mannequin.
Well,
it's like yet another withering person, right?
Yeah. Well, the surprise is.
Oh, how about this? How about with the spear? He takes it and he uses it against another human, another soldier. And let's say he like scratches the shoulders of the arm of the soldier, and all of a sudden the entire arm just like starts to disintegrate in front of him, and he realizes this is a super powerful weapon. But at the same time, the hand that's holding the spear ages rapidly to the point where his hand is like useless now.
Yeah, so long-term use.
Well, it has an effect on him. It's like magic. It has effect on him, but in honesty, it hurt the soldier more, but it also hurt him as well. That's the price he paid in order to learn or to find the thing that can kill the primordial. The price he paid was he lost his arm, or he lost something bad happened to his arm. But something worse happened to the person that he used it against.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Like maybe his hand like shrivels like to the bone, and he's like, but the soldier that he just barely scratched, like whole body disintegrates in front of him.
Does he survive the story?
The general?
Yeah.
Well, originally we said he gets destroyed. I think he should be somewhere in the future.
Well, we can. Well, it's comics, bro. He can die.
He's definitely the founder of this cult you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, he can die just because he's. I mean, you know how that works.
Because he died doesn't mean.
Yeah, you can have a building fall on him, and then 100 issues later, the guy with the shriveled hand shows up.
If you watch enough, read enough comics and watch enough anime like I do, death does not necessarily mean a complete death. Like you could have a death of the body, and the consciousness can still survive.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Like he could actually, if he gets killed by the spear, his consciousness could be in the spear.
Well, yeah, the body dies, your physical body dies, but your consciousness kind of survives, kind of sort of, and it could I don't know, it could be collected into the spear, sphere or something like that.
I had a comic idea I was going to do a long time ago, right? The supernatural thing, where these characters who operated in shadows all had a staff they used, and there was a single consciousness going through the staffs.
Mm.
So I was kind of like,
How does he die? Does the primordial kill him? I mean, and I'm talking about death in probably not like a permadeath, but in the context of the story, is it a primordial killing him, or is the king killing him?
Well, you know what? One of the things that I had suggested early on, before the whole you guys making the king into the solar mannequin, was that there was a scene where the king is kneeling, and the everything is gone, everything is destroyed, and he is the last survivor of it. What if the general, that's his position now? Because his ultimate goal would be to be the king of everything, to take over as the king and be the king of the whole land, of the village, of the people, and so forth. But in the end, he's the only survivor of this wasteland.
Basically, like a pirate victory.
Yeah, because I see him as being that person, because the king's going to go in a different direction. The king's not going to be in that. He's going to, the solar mannequin thing, you guys have moved on with that. But in the end, somebody should still be there looking over this wasteland that he's inherited, which is nothing but a decimated city. And everybody's dead. But maybe that is how the general's story ends.
Basically, hell on earth.
Because his ultimate goal is to take over for the king and be the king of everything, and maybe that's exactly what he gets. He's the only one left.
The king of ruin.
Yeah, he got.
So basically, you're revolving your entire story around the moral of how far would you go to obtain victory, and what price would you pay?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've already established that the seer, his mother, who sees the death and ruin, it's going to happen. But we imagine it being the king's fault in the end. But in actuality, the general has more to do with it than anything else. The king's, of course, trying to prevent it from happening, and it still ends up happening anyway.
So everything they do to prevent it actually contributes to it.
Pretty much. That's a circle of life, Simba. That's from a Disney movie called The Lion King.
Oh my God, Andrew! Jeez.
Yes, thank you. No, because that was actually that was the plot point of it was one of the Terminator movies. It was a horrible one, to where I think the apocalypse was happening, and everything they did actually contributed to. No, actually, a better example would be 12 Monkeys. Because 12 Monkeys, they knew that they were facing this future. So again, everything they did to prevent it actually contributed to it.
Yep.
Which I thought was brilliant in that film.
Yeah, that was excellent. Zach, what do you think, brother?
I'm just wondering why Drew keeps explaining about stuff that we've all seen. Is this an inside joke I'm not aware of?
No, he's making fun of me because I can't, because my comic book and pop culture references are way off. So he's making an assumption that I've never seen anything, and so he's making fun of me.
All right.
Zach, you weren't there for that when he was talking about Spider-Man and the Matrix, and he was totally screwing it up.
You guys got to realize that usually after about 9:30, my brain starts shutting down. So if I was there, I probably don't remember it. What do I think? Okay, it looks good so far. As far as who kills the general,
or does he die? We don't even know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that will be a question, for the broader meta universe. Do we want to keep this guy around so we can use him as a character, for a future drop, or just get rid of him now? My feeling is that if we're going to keep the king around to become Solar Mannequin, we might as well, we might as well keep a few of the others around as well. I mean, for example, why not keep the queen? Why not find a way to bring the queen back to life, for example?
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's up, KG? Welcome, sir. How you doing, brother?
Yeah. So, So yeah, I would say that we don't actually we don't kill him. We show a scene where he maybe he gets blasted, but we don't see a body. It's assumed that he's dead. And then, in a future episode down below, maybe as part of a broader plot arc, we need an evil villain in the background, or maybe like some new anti-hero, And
right, he totally could be like the Red Skull kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly like that. The Red Skull. Maybe like the Red Skull, or I'm trying to think of the DC equivalent. Maybe like the equivalent of like the entire Court of Owls.
I never read that arc, but I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it was like one of the last good things that came out of DC before they finally disappeared up their own backside.
I have it, but I bought the black and white noir version just for the art.
Yeah, I stopped reading comics like in like 2010, 2012. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop buying those. I'm going to stop buying those noir books because the binding in them, the glue, is garbage.
It's not as garbage as the art. Let me put it that way.
No, the noir books. It's like they pick good stuff to print in black and white. It's just the binding and the glue for the hardbacks is trash. It'll break.
Yeah. So again, I'm thinking that like at least 3 of these characters, maybe the king as the sole mannequin, obviously, the general, the queen, maybe she can be resurrected, and maybe the seer as well. We could have the seer. They could all come back as supervillains of one kind or another. Like maybe the seer could become this our world's version of the Anti-Monitor, or I don't know, just spitballing here, really.
Sure, that's what it's about.
Here's a question I like to toss out. Is the primordial? Is he the only one of his kind, the last one of his kind, or is he just one of a omnipotent race, so to speak?
We have not defined that yet. That's a very good question.
I've always thought of him as kind of like Cthulhu's younger, shittier brother, to be honest.
Wait, who's?
As Cthulhu's younger, shittier brother.
Oh, sure.
Like Cthulhu's meth head cousin.
Yeah. they totally kicked him out of that dimension because they were just like, who's this whiny brat? And they kicked him out, and this is where he landed.
Right. And now he's about to rule it.
I always imagine the primordial as Doomsday, and the king and the queen and everything like a Conan story. So it's like Conan crossed with Doomsday.
Oh, interesting. Sure, I can see that.
It's how I imagine it in my brain every time we talk about this. So
actually,
your brain is wrong. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm kidding. That's not bad because we don't see him. We don't see him at full power in this story.
Well,
Right.
We've got just a few minutes left.
So let me squeeze this in. What do you think about, say, the primordial is more so the end of every world? And this is what I mean. Let's say he destroys the world, whatever, he dies, but with each incarnation of the world or race of man is always going to be a primordial that ends that particular, like wipes that particular race out, and it's been going on for longer than we know. Like our history right now, 5,000 of years. Maybe that was just a cycle that we're unaware of.
Yeah, I like that. I always saw primordial as kind of like a degree of Galactus, right? But I do like the idea that it's not necessarily that there's one creature going planet to planet to destroy it because he's hungry. It's just that there's like, that maybe there are these beings that their entire job is to end planets. Like that's the race, that's the what the creature does.
Well, basically, you have like a say like you have a life equation and say a death equation. Like
that's what. Oh yeah, and that's what
it's like a balance. It's like, say you have this tool, it could either build or destroy, and man's inherent nature is always to start building first, but then eventually destroy itself. So, and this primordial is basically that tool. It's like it could be used for good, but with our nature of, power, we eventually keep destroying ourselves over and over again. With the birth of every orientation of man, you're always going to have that primordial ascent. So it's like, hey, do you want to use this tool to build or destroy?
Yeah, I like that.
I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I love it. I really like the idea too. Like that it's not necessarily the creature by itself is not necessarily evil.
Yeah, it's not evil. It's just in the hands of evil intent. Yes, it could turn evil.
Also, I had the idea. It doesn't go as it was thought to be planned, and that's why the battle planet shows up. To be like, okay, this world was supposed to end, the primordial was supposed to destroy it, and then the battle planet shows up.
Yeah, what if the primordial was supposed to be like a cleanser of the entire planet, and because of the interference of the king and the general and the queen and all that?
No. The battle planet. The reason the battle planet shows up is the redemption arc because the battle planet takes place much later.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but the whole thing was the primordial was supposed to be like the fuse that restarted the planet. But instead, because of the interference of these characters, the cycle was incomplete, and the world was allowed to continue to flourish and to continue to grow. Maybe our entire society is an error in the calculation. And the battle planet is coming to correct that.
Well, I'm unfamiliar with the battle planet, but that's exactly what I mean by that.
Wasn't there a part in the story with the battle planet where the primordial actually joins the good guys?
Yes.
Yes. But that could be the reason why the battle planet is here to finish what the primordial should have started millennia ago.
Yeah, sure.
We're not supposed to be here. The entire planet, the people are not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be a fresh planet with no life on it. And that got fucked up.
It's so good, man.
That's almost like if you follow Dragon Ball Z, that's kind of sort of that story, so to speak.
Yeah, and the name for the battle planet being Omnibus is going to have to change because it's getting too good for such a stupid name.
What? What was that again? Because
you have remote attention, Avery.
Yeah. Omnibussy was the name of the battle planet when it transformed into a robot. Yes, Ramel. Yes. We have a lot of silly shit in here, dude.
You guys realize that the battle planet began basically as kind of a like a spoof / ripoff of the War World from DC, right?
Oh, I thought it was more like Omicron.
I thought it was like an
Omicron. I'm the one that changed it.
Andrew, his name is Unicron. It's
Unicron. Sorry.
Yeah. Sure. I'm the one that changed it to a Unicron ripoff and named it Omnibussy for it to transform. That's so my fault.
So good, so stupid. Anyway, with that, maybe we'll call it. We can continue this off of live, but we'll continue this in the green room. But we hit 2 hours. I think we did great, man. This is good. This has sounded great. So for everyone out there, I just want to say, KG, Wizard, Hype, J-Raw, Dusty, who else? Rageous, Willie D, thank you guys for showing up. We do this every week, every Thursday, 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Big announcement. If you guys head over to Discord, to the Adult Fantasy Discord, now, link should be in the description. You can go ahead and jump in very short order. We will be releasing the the mint passes as public. So I'm going to put this on screen real quick so you can see it. This right here, we have, I think this is the latest number. We have 2,317 left out of 7,200. So we're, was that about 70, 80% done? About 75% done. And we are opening this up to the general public tonight. So all you got to do is head over to adultfantasy.cleverera.com or hop over to Discord. We'll let you know as soon as it's live. It is not live yet. But when it is, you will just be able to go in here. You just put in your mint destination, wherever wallet you want to mint to. You hit verify access, and it'll walk you through a couple prompts, and you can go down and you can mint whichever one you qualify for. So you will be able to go in and mint and have yourself an Ashcan edition. And just because I know a lot of people are going to ask, you can mint as many as you want. We're just capping it at 1 per mint, so that we don't clog up the system and pump gas too high. So you go there. If you want 5, you can just do it a couple times. We're using something called Azuki 721A contract. For those of you in NFT space, you know that is creates extremely low gas, and we've had great success with it. Melissa is a genius. She modified it and adapted it to a completely different contract, our own smart contract. And so yeah, you'll be able to get it at a pretty good price. I highly recommend it. We are expecting them to mint out in short order. So go get yours today. Do not wait. That has a ton of utility. I'm not going to go through it all, but this whole page is nothing but utility. You can see some awesome background stuff. And in fact, you can see there's Avery's badass cover right there for Devoid. This is the black and white version of the cover. There's going to be variant covers. There's 4 different kinds: the rare, super rare, epic, legendary, and mythic. And you know what? I'll show you this. This is the you've got the NFT is a slabbed comic. Each one is graded independently, just like a real book, right? Where it stops, nobody knows. And you can get a mint one. You can also get one that's a little damaged. Every single one is different. Every single one is unique.
And this one does not have the aging mechanic, correct? That's
right. It's a static grade, so it means it does not change. The grade does not change over time. It just is static. You get it. You get it. You get what you get. So I highly recommend everyone hop over to Discord and hang out. And in short order, hop over to adultfantasy.cleverera.com and pick up your free mint pass. You guys are going to dig it. It's got some great stuff coming, man. It's going to be very, very cool. But with that said, thank you guys. Thank everybody here. Thank you at home for watching. Smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that jazz, because it really does help us out. And with that, we will see you again next time. Thank you so much. And until then, I'm just going to say peace out.